Hopefully my mic isn't as bad as it usually is, but oh no, I'm in demo mode. Um, so what's been happening is I get the link here and send it to him. I'm gonna wait for a few people to hop in here. Alright, so I'm gonna hop in here so I don't go demo mode and have to hear anything. Alright, so set down my controller here. I didn't want to make this stream. I really didn't. But it's come to light all the messed up stuff Vallac, James, Cyber, Adrian Adams has done. And today I'm going to spread my little bits of knowledge here. And to do this, I'm going to go all the way back to 2012 when I met him. And when I met him, this was this old little rinky-dink company ran by, I think it was Jade. That was his name. Call me crazy. And me and him, we weren't all that cool. We were like fine, but we weren't that cool. And it was always like a sort of hate relationship where we'll still respect each other. Fast forward a year later, we meet each other again, and now he has face paint on, and he's talking to me and telling me he's been in FAM and that he was James something else. Or what's called, or Brian Styles or something like that. I don't know the validity of that statement, and I'm not going to tell you guys that it was right or wrong, because he could have very well been that man, and I don't know. As a 14-year-old, or a 13-year-old in this situation, I just sat there and said, oh my god, they have views. Hey, is that CM Pulse? Because CM Pulse and WMU were cool back then. That's beside the point. And this whole time in 2013, we're just sitting here shooting the breeze, and then he meets this girl. And I didn't think anything of this, and you'll hear this later on, because this becomes a common trend. He meets this girl, and she starts sweet talking him, and I'm not too sure if this is still, I'm not sure if I'm talking about the wrong person here, or if I am, or if I'm talking about the right one here, but lo and behold, she stops talking to him out of the blue. I don't know the story here, and I kind of don't want to know, but after that, he started becoming more and more of a dick. And this is the time where I got released from a company. Well, I got straight fired, because this was back in pen and paper. And that was that for another year, until 2K14, where I met him again, and we started playing heavily, and throughout all this, he was throwing some shallow digs at me, like, you suck, you can't wrestle, you can't do any of this, you look stupid. And throughout all this guy has Jeff Hardy paint on. He's looking. That's not. That's me getting into the looks here. But this whole time he's throwing shallow digs and like shots. I'm not seeing any of them because, let's face it, I am blind to this crap. If you talk crap about me, I won't know. I'm blind to it. But that's where we get into the whole like, I'm not seeing it until I see it. He finds this new group of friends, and I don't know who these pricks are, and they're all just starting to talk crap like all day, and there's like I'm trying to figure out what they're on about. 14-year-old me can't understand a goddamn thing. Alright, what's in the comment section here? 14-year-old me can't understand a goddamn thing. I'm just sitting here acting like I'm, acting like I'm cool because I'm in the group of the cool kids, right? Wrong. So, I'm sitting here and it's been going on for like, okay, I'm in the 2014, which is meaning that this stream's been going on for about 5 minutes, roughly. So, throughout all this, it's like shallow dig after shallow dig after shallow dig after shallow dig, and I'm not seeing any of these until I get out of this group and I start looking at the bigger picture. I'm like, dang, he's a dick. And I'm not mentioning the people who were involved in this because I don't want to bring them into this because they're all since left the community. But there's one person involved. And I think it's the same person who ran the company that I'm going to get into later because this is where it all starts to fall into the puzzle with the stuff Tom said in his stream. What was said was a lot, but we get into this, and there's this female. And I think this would be Natalie or Nadeline, whatever the blue ball she calls herself. She got herself exposed, so I don't care. Long story short, prick. Catfish too, another one of them. We get into these conversations and we talk again, and then we fall off, which is a common trend between me and Cyber. And throughout all this, we're all like in and out, kind of cool, kind of not, two-face mode with him. Like he's on two-face mode with me. And I'm just like, I don't care if you like me or not. Be you, do you. And then that's that. Until 2015. Where we get into this company. Like, we get into a few companies. There was Archangel's company and there was a few companies. But primarily amongst them was this company called Born to Brawl. And there's a few reasons why this is a little funny here. Is myself and Tom met in this company. See, Tom joined, I joined. You can ask around. There's a guy named Noah Todd. He joined it. Like, a lot of people from NCW joined it, and this was like before we all got into NCW. And the person who was co-leading it when I was there was Vallac himself. And this was a girl, and I was like 110% sure they were dating, and I think they were. And she would talk to me, and she would vent to me, like, at random times about, like, he's being this, he's being that, and then I'm sitting here shrugging it off because I was 14, or I was 14 at the time. I didn't turn 15 until after I left BTB. I was 14 just listening. And it clicked with me later what she was talking about, because I do remember a good bit of these conversations. Like, he's very controlling. If you listen to the stories, they're all into this. He wants to take over the company, which he attempted to. Then got fired and replaced with me. And I didn't want to be the co-leader. I just couldn't care less. During this time, we're all, like, these conversations are happening. And I'm listening. I'm listening and trying my very best not to, not to get into any, like, trouble. Because back then, I could keep a good reputation before I started having, like, these moments where I would speak my mind and people would start getting angry in 2 seconds. That's beside the point. What is in the point here is Vallac would start trying his best to start digging in and start licking her taint and licking her butts. If you understand the joke, I'm being PG as can be. He just keeps kissing the booty. This whole time, keeps kissing the left and right cheek until she starts seeing what Tom says and what everybody else is saying currently. He was starting to do his very best to phase everybody out that had any sort of like pull. And during this time, nobody knew I had pull. There was a guy called Crimson. I don't know what in the Blue Balls' real name is. I'm not going to say it, but there was this guy named Crimson. And he happened to get involved, and he got kicked out of the company because subsequently they thought that he was, going to go to this other company. And they were all, it was us or them. It was very us or them there. During this, Vallac starts doing a lot of shady things. Like, he would talk to the XWE guys, and I have no problem saying this. He would talk to Equal Scorpion, who was our rival back then. Still doesn't like me. Still think he's a pedo. But that's beside the point. And he would, like, this whole time he would start playing the victim. Start arguing. Start getting involved with other people's stuff and start trying his very best to stir the pot and get his own name, like, better. And then he got fired because of stirring the pot too much. And Madeline told me her reasoning for getting rid of him was he was getting really clingy and he was trying to take over my company. And she since deleted everything, so yeah, you could ask Tom about that. And I think Noah had just gotten in when I left, so yeah. Then we go to NCW. This is where business is about to start picking up. Me and Tom joined the same night, and he happens to be really close to me. I considered him a brother back then. Still do. So, me and Tom come in the company, and Tom happens to be, like, slowly getting closer to, let's call it, to Adrian. Now, what you guys heard from Tom is the good side about it, because Tom happened to be his friend during this. He still had some sort of vendetta against me. And so, I would be booked poorly anyway, because, like, at this time, I was getting badmouthed by everyone. I wasn't allowed a lot of things, but I'm not going to get into the stuff I wasn't allowed, because it's a story for if you talk to me in a party. Because I'm not going to disrespect NCW. I have respect for them. However, I'm going to disrespect the living crap out of the prick who doesn't know how to shut his mouth. Now, we're going to get involved with this side of the story. The other side of the coin is Tom didn't realize what was happening on the other side. So, every day, this whole time, Tom's talking to Prickzilla. I'm calling him Prickzilla because I don't remember his name. Adrian. He's talking to Adrian. Because at the time, Vallac's name was Adrian Adams. I'm going to call him Adrian Adams, Cyber, James, and I'm never calling him Vallac. But he's doing all this stuff and starting to talk down to me and starting to talk down to everyone. Until we reach a boiling point. Where, like, we're all starting to argue a little bit. Like, between me and the lower guys, we're all starting to get ticked off with Cyber. They're allowing him to do a lot of the stuff we're not allowed to do. And, like, during all this, yeah, I went 2-22 that year. Fun fact there. You can laugh at me. Self-deprecating humor is fun. We get into the, like, Cyber starts talking and disrespecting me and talking down to me and all the other guys. Now, what Tom doesn't see or what nobody sees that happens to be friends with him, is how hard he's talking down to us. Like, this is where it starts getting questionable. And the validity of my statements can be like seen through with the lower talent, or the people who are considered lower talent in that show. Because he would start bullying the lower talent and saying, this is why I'm that and you're not going to ever be this. Like, yeah. Basically, high school humor. Then he starts downing Cody. And we get into the 2K16 season, 2016. And by the way, sorry Tom, your years are slightly messed up. We're in the 2K16 season. And what happens is, me and Tom fall off for the 60 billionth time. And Cyber picks up where I left off with the best friend spot. And this is the beginning of the end for me. Now, I'm seeing this as like an outsider coming in. When they started NEW, I wasn't around. Because I was 100% NCW and I could not be stopped. Then Tom tried to start ACW. I wasn't allowed in. Cyber. That was one of the only reasons why I wasn't allowed in, was because Cyber was like in his ear telling him, don't sign Jaden. Don't sign Jaden. And I know about this because I happen to have been in a party. And I was like sneaking around the party. Yes, like this was one of those times where Cyber wasn't looking at the party, blah blah blah. I heard it. Then we go into ACCW time. Because I just glanced over all of that. I'm about to get into it in detail in a second, but ACCW. The companies are split, and I happen to be like kind of around here. This is ACW, NCW's fused together. Tom went into detail on this. I'm going to put in a little cliff notes here. Throughout all this, Cyber was trying to keep some guys in the NCW loops, some guys inside the ACW loop. I happen to not have been allowed inside the ACW loop, and it was very us or them there too, which is that's something that what's called Cyber loved to do. And every single time there was something that he wanted to do, he would go against someone to get what he wanted. Now, I'm gonna focus on the championships here, because Tom focused on leadership. Now, leadership was a part of it. Championships was the other part that he wanted only. And yeah, I know this is coming from a guy who legitimately comes into companies and says, "Give me your gold." But like, I joke about it. With him, he's serious about it. Like he doesn't care as long as he gets some sort of main event or gold push, and he thinks that he's like all high and mighty. And it comes from somebody who thinks he's high and mighty. I'm kidding. No, so these conversations happen, and as I said, throughout all this, it's very us or them, and I stuck with NCW. I wanted to be a part of both. I was not allowed. And depending on who you ask, I was a flip-flopper. I wasn't. I wanted to stay in both. But depending on who you ask, or who got their dick sucked by Sniper or Cyber. Sorry, Sniper. Said your name. Yeah, depending on whoever got that dick sucked by Cyber, yeah, that story changes. And we get into ACCW times. I go into management for recruiting, I believe. And I'm slowly doing my job. I can guarantee I was like half doing it, half not, because I was like kind of on the game. I was kind of on the game. And I was more working toward getting stuff done than I was, getting stuff done. I was focused on XCF. But I had heard through the grapevine at the time that Cyber was bad-mouthing me and telling him that I was, I wasn't fit for leadership. I wasn't fit for any sort of leadership. And to a certain degree, he was kind of right. You see what happened to Desire. I'm kidding. Desire is happening this year, by the way. But yeah, it gets into this whole like heated debate, like, is he worthy of it? And I tried to talk Tom into letting me keep my leadership position, because I knew I was on the border of being released if I wasn't inside that leadership position. That's how I viewed it. And somehow Cyber talked him out of releasing me from that leadership position, and I don't know how. Actually, I wasn't in the first episode. Yeah. Fun fact here. And then it all went back to NCW. Then, for me, it looked like it was all cool. Until it wasn't. And throughout all of this, I'm getting more and more frustrated with my positions in every way here. And I'm being made to look out like a bad guy throughout all this, while Cyber's looking like the angel and everybody else is looking like, well, Jaden just has sour grapes. So, throughout all this, me and Cyber never were like super cool after this. We would talk from time to time in every single conversation. It's like, ha, that's why I'm better than you. Ha, that's why I'm cooler than you. Ha, that's why I have a bigger dick. I mean, first off, oh, actually, that reminds me. Thank God for me saying that comment, because now we're getting into the catfish situation. And I happen to be around for this, and I don't think Tom remembers that I was around, because I used to hop in parties and not say words, because I had a terrible mic at the time. Still do. And if you watch the XCF videos, you'll understand why I refuse to talk. Like, my mic would go and start sounding like I had a full construction site behind my head. But that's beside the point. So, now on the topic of the catfish situation. Tom got catfished, and it's not like, and Cyber knows that I knew he got catfished too. That's beside the point. Now, he would start disrespecting Tom on the fact that he got catfished. And Tom didn't want to hear it. And every single time I was in a party and he said something about him getting catfished, Tom would get more and more like angry and distant all at the same time. And Tom didn't realize it. And God bless his heart. I feel so bad for Tom in this situation. Because Tom's such a great person. He got put in like a bad situation. That's beside the point. The point is that throughout all this, he was getting disrespected by Adrian. Adrian would keep on pushing the envelope and keep pushing him and keep tugging him until, boom. What happens is, Cyber, in this relationship, tells a girl within, I think it was less than a week, he says, I love you. And I cried laughing when I heard about the situation, because I didn't know what that meant. It was so out of nowhere that it was just like a whole, wow, that just happened moment. Because since Tom was getting harassed about his catfish situation, now Cyber gets broken up with directly after for saying I love you within a week. And that, first off, huge red flag there. And you can go back to the BTB situation. I didn't tell anyone this during the stream yet. Throughout all this, she said he was clingy because he was dating her and all this. And I heard through the grapevine that he told her he loves. Actually, I didn't hear it through the grapevine. I heard it through a party that I was in with him. He said it 1,000,000,001 times. Now we're going back to the 2017 stuff or 2016 stuff. This is when, like, Everett's getting angry or Tom's getting mad, and James is finally getting a taste of his own medicine, and he starts playing power plays on us, and I don't think Tom realizes like how bad it was, but I remember how bad it was because I used to be the one getting hit with it all the time, and now I see Tom getting hit with it. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, when's he gonna snap? Tom never snaps. Tom, however, just now, like, I feel bad for Tom because he's like just now realizing how bad it was. This whole time getting talked down to. But neither here nor there. We get into the 2017 season. After ACCW turns back into NCW. This whole time, Tom doesn't know this, and I didn't want to tell him this because I didn't want him to be more and more angry, but this whole time, James is like bad-mouthing the crap out of Tom. And then he badmouths the crap out of CTO and all these other companies because he wants to be the greatest Unite wrestler of all time. And we all get on him and start joking about the fact that he's a goddamn clown. Literally. And no disrespect to Starstream, but whoever decided it was pay to play, they can go screw off because that is not, like, you already pay $60 for the game. That's like, if you want a pocket cash, go and goddamn buy a Patreon. Go get a Patreon or put your PayPal in your bio or put your Cash App in your bio. That's neither here nor there, and that's sour grapes. But now we get into the more accurate part of the story, where this is where I drop off. I'm seeing all this happen, and throughout all this, it's like disrespect, stupid comment, getting owned by himself, disrespect, stupid comment, getting disrespected by another person, and then having it blow up in his face. Now, sorry, that I just threw my Chromebook at the side because I don't need it right now. But throughout all this entire time, I sit here and I'm just like, are you serious? You're gonna talk crap to us when you're the one who's doing all this stupid crap? And I'm not allowed to say any of this because I'll get released and fired instantly. And right now, I have nothing to lose. I'm not in NCW. I'm not in any companies that he's in, so I'm gonna let all the truth come out now. Is that, thank you, Jay, is that every single time, that he wanted to say something stupid, someone else said something smart to him, and he would start getting more and more angsty toward them, more and more angry toward them, more and more disrespectful toward them, and he would never stop. And it's like every 2 seconds someone says something, he wants to he plays the victim more than he plays like regular, games. Now I'm gonna read what I told. Actually, I'm gonna go into the DMs with Tom here because I said something to him about stuff that I wanted to say. So I listened to his thing, and it was claimed that that he was a part of FAM. I can guarantee that he was not. He was just followed by them. Because this was like back when I was being followed at the time by Smack Talks, and I was being followed by New Legacy. People were following just to follow back then, because not every single person is going to, like, yeah, that's how you get your name out, is you follow people. They were following people to get their name back out. That's what it was at the time. He happened to be on the payroll of Unite at the time, or currently, or before they ended, and that's what he's like getting at. But he was never an FAM back then. And if he was, then excuse the fact that I straight up said it now. And if he wasn't, then I've been right this whole entire time in saying that he wasn't, because he said two different names this entire time. But let's go back to leading back. Oh, actually, I mentioned the fact that there are a few stints between me and him after I left NCW. Alright. Now, he was not Angelo Victoria. He claimed to being Brian Styles too, but... Oh, yeah. I'm gonna go back to 15 again, but... Alright. So... I'm gonna start over here in case you guys didn't know. Rerun, because there's a few things I want to get off my chest, and this involves all of the stuff Cyber said. All the stuff that was said and done. I'm gonna start off with 2012 so people can file in if they do. I'm gonna go all the way back to when I met him. I met him when he was bald, stupid, and didn't know who he was. He still doesn't know who he is, but he happened to be slightly cool back then. We were talking, and we got along a little bit. Played little games, and we weren't all that cool, because there was like a little bit of like some shallow digs in there, and I'm going to just zoom past these so I don't mess up what I said earlier. And then 2K14, or 2K13, or WA13. Few stints playing with each other, didn't like each other all that much. 14, became best friends, hated each other after that. 15. This is where we start getting into the very, very, very dark crap. 15, we get to this company, and I'm skipping through a lot of this. We get to BTB. This is the precursor to what Tom said. We get in this company called BTB. And it's me and Tom who end up inside this company alongside the co-leader at the time, Cyber. I want you to think about that for a second. Cyber was co-leader. Now, me and Nadlin, the owner of the company, happened to be like slightly cool, and I was in line for some sort of leadership position. I didn't want it, but I was kind of given it. Me and Nadlin talked, and she would tell me all this shady stuff that he did behind her back, and all the stuff that he kept doing. Until, like, they were dating, and he would not leave her alone, and they would, like, he would sit under her nose 24/7, and, like, it was weird in that respect. And I'll give him this, he was 14 or 13 at the time. Actually, I was 14, which means he was 15. He was 15 at the time, so can't really fault him too much for it. But I will. And this is like where it starts to get really, really questionable. This is where he plants the seeds for later here. I'm going to plant some seeds. He would come into the company, and this was a very us versus them scenario where there's this other company called XWE ran by Equal Scorpion. I don't like him. I think he's a pedo still to this day. But that's beside the point. Now, what happens is me and Tom are in this company, we're playing and stuff. I get an invite to the party, and I hear, well, I'm sick of this. And then she leaves the party, or Madeline leaves the party and invites me to a private chat. In this private chat, she tells me, Jade, you're now the new co-leader. I'm starting to get sick of his BS. He's starting to coerce with the other company, and he's starting to, you know, put us against each other. Like, it was always us versus them since the start when I came in. It was getting more and more, like, scary toward that point, because we were on YouTube, they were on Twitch, and Tom doesn't remember this. I do, because she would send me every one of the videos that had a comment from him in it. Equal Scorpion would comment on every video, and they would Twitch stream their shows, I believe, and they would get comments from BTB guys. Now, during all this, I'm hearing that Cyber would try to get people to leave BTB to come to XWE and vice versa. Then I get kicked out of the company. I don't remember what reasons. I don't care what reasons. They said I was talking to XWE or some crap. That's beside the point. I don't care. We get into this short stint where it's just me talking to him and trying to patch stuff up, and we do. Then we get to NCW. And you can ask Cody and Tom about this, or actually you can ask Tom, Noah, and who was the third person who was involved that's still in the company or in the community? I think Matt. I can't remember what Matt's thing is. If like, I'll tag them inside the tweet later when I say rewatch this. But during all this, it's like us versus them, and then I get out of the company and we, reconcile, we talk, and we get into, like, me and Tom get into NCW together. He happened to be in NCW at the time. I joined the party and it was just like, hey, you want to come in? And I didn't care. I just kind of joined. We had our first match, all this crap, blah, blah, blah. Throughout all this, I'm not seeing it until, like, after, like, retrospect. I see it in retrospect. I don't see it current. He's, like, throwing shallow digs every single time we talk, and some of these are inside jokes, like I went 2-22 that year. Everybody joked about it. I couldn't care less. He would start insulting everybody who was around him, and that's when it started getting, like, questionable, like, what he was insulting people about. Because there's a reason why there are rules inside the community, and I'm a part of the reason why they're inside NCW. He would start getting, like, borderline personal with me, and I was not having it. I would not, like, throughout all this, I don't care, and shut up, Jay. It really isn't, but that's beside the point. He would throw shallow digs at people. Anybody who was down, anybody who was down in the totem pole, he would start disrespecting. He came after my family, came after my personal came after my appearance, my family, my looks, in-game, out-of-game, everything that he could find. And then I wouldn't insult him at all, which is very, very different from the Jaden you see now. And you can, Tom can attest to this. I would keep silent because I didn't want to get fired. Because this is the first time I was on YouTube. The first time I had any sort of, recognition, or I could say I did something. Now, fast forward to 2K16. At the end of... I love telling this story. At the end of the year, we get to Eliminatio, and throughout all this, yeah, it's fun talking crap, it's fun cutting promos until you get personal. Tom doesn't remember this because he wasn't in the party. Now, when this happened, it was just okay, keep talking crap. He would insult, he went so far as to insult, my personal life inside of a promo. And it was just me, him, and Dave in a party. God bless Dave, because Dave didn't know what was happening the whole entire time. But this whole time he was like crossing lines, and I didn't know like how bad it would get. And I took a hit personally on this. If you look at my Instagram, I looked bald at the time, and it was because I was like slowly going insane. Now we get into the parts where it starts to get a bit more funny. And yeah, me and Tom teamed that night. Fun fact, I was never pinned, LOL. And then we get into the 2K16 season of NCW. Or so I think. Tom creates a company called NEW with Jester, and shut up, Jay. Shut up. He creates this company called NEW with Jester, and it was fine and dandy, and I wasn't allowed in it because I wasn't a sim guy at the time, and I didn't have an Xbox One at the time. Like, I was the whole reason that they were going to have 16 season be dual consoled, but that's beside the point, and I don't want to get into that. We get into that NEW bit where it's like, okay, is he going to join or is he not? And then then James joins. And as an outsider watching in, I'm seeing Tom slowly go crazy because, like, outsiders' view, I get to see more than the insiders of it because they get clouded by what they see on the surface, whereas we get to like dig deep and see like all the seeds and stuff. And I'm seeing that he's trying to take over the company. And I happen to like watch all this unfold on social media and in parties because I would be silent about it and I would like, yeah. Hi, guy that doesn't want to get fined. But yeah, we talk and it gets questionable, and I listen to all this. And Tom dang near loses his mind. Then I get an Xbox One, and we get to, I think, midway through the NCW season, and you see, I'm broke. But you see, we get into this questionable time where it's just like, what's happening in NCW? Because I'm not hearing any words about it, and then I'm hearing, oh, NCW's just been broken in half. And throughout all this, I'm sitting here, it's like, what in the blue, what's happening? And then Tom messages me saying, hey, you want to come to a place where you'll be respected? Because this whole time I'm not being respected, and I'm not being, like, I've been there since episode 9, and I was not getting anywhere near even mid-card in the show. Yes, balling on a budget. But, yeah. We get into the questionable part. I'm getting offered a spot in ACW. And so I join and I say, yay, I'm a part of something, and I'm also a part of NCW. And being a part of both, I wasn't allowed to be a part of both, but I still was because I couldn't care less. I knew from the beginning that James was trying to turn him against, like, they were trying to turn each other against each other. Like, not James trying to turn Tom against, or not Tom trying to turn people against each other. No, James was trying to turn Cody Fort against Tom, and trying to turn Tom against Cody Fort. And because I happened to be like right there and I was staring at him this whole entire time, I was seeing like firsthand all of the dirty underhanded tactics being used. It was like, really now? really now? And he would just keep on pushing and pushing and pushing until, like, I saw Tom slowly, like, lose it, and I saw Cody just like, alright, screw Tom, screw it. Like, it was so bad. And in watching this, I would try my best to get a word in, and I couldn't get a word in because every time I did, it was like, he's working for the other guys, he's working for the other guys, he's a spy, haha. And it would kill me to try it, but I was watching this whole entire time them going, like, being forced against each other and each other. No. And I watched. Now, what Tom doesn't know is I watched um, James attempt to be co-leader in both ACW and NCW. He attempted. He failed with NCW because Cody was stubborn and didn't want anything to do with a multi-person, leadership role. Now, Tom, on the other hand, I love Tom, but he was super gullible at the time. And every single thing that, like, he spoke well and didn't say anything is the mantra for how Prickzilla talks. That's what I keep calling Adrian, Prickzilla, because that's what he is. Now, every single time Adrian's saying something, it comes back to bite him later. Adrian kept saying, oh, well, they're gonna die, haha, they suck. He ends up coming back to NCW fully. And then, throughout all this, we all take a shift to ACCW. I become a part of management, and Tom also leading alongside Cody. And it's just like, okay, we're all fine now. Or so I think. I'm watching this unfold, and I happen to be in parties all the time with every one of the people. I hear all the dirty, underhanded stuff, because at the time I was slowly becoming more and more self-aware again. So I would hear Cyber saying, we need to get rid of him. And I know about the pronoun game because I've played it enough. I knew he was talking about me. Because everybody has their own nicknames about me, be it jobber, prick, douchebag, guy we blacklisted for no apparent reason. Yeah. Shallow digs. So we would get into these heated debates and stuff, and I wouldn't listen to any of the things that he would say, and I would listen to, like, some things, but I wouldn't listen to half the things he would say to me personally. Because at the time I was still ticked off, and I still am, about him going personal. Throughout all this, ACCW starts, and they get one episode up, and I'm 99% sure he politicked his way into having me not show up even on the show. Because, little side note here, up until 2017 when I left NCW, I was the guy on the most shows every year. From the revamp in 2015 up to 2017 when I left. And I believe that lasted until early 2018. But that's beside the point. This is where we start getting into the more and more meaty part of it. When ACCW ended and it went all back to NCW, Tom created this company called Honor. Convinced him, like, every single time after ACCW that Tom brought in Cyber as any sort of backing toward any sort of leadership, I would watch as Cyber, and Cyber does this with every company, he would try to get into the leader spot so he would get more, like, he's hungry for fame and hungry for power. That's why he went to, that's why he went to Unite. Fame and power. Now, throughout all this, he starts talking about being oh so big and oh so bad because he's a part of the sim community, and Tom is down to earth at this time. And now what happens is once Honor starts, this prick gets a big head and starts talking crap to everybody in NCW and starts disrespecting everybody who's below him in the card, whereas Tom's sitting here just like, okay, I'm gonna just sit here and not listen, because Tom was burned out at this time. And I don't know if Tom wants me to tell any of you guys this, but I gave him a few pep talks back then to keep him in the community. And then throughout all this, the causes of these, I'm 99% sure was Brickzilla talking crap right to his face and telling him that he needs all this stuff when he's not contributing. Like, and you can call me out and say I'm bad at running a company and all this, but I stuck with XCF for 7-8 years now. You can say a lot about me, but you can't say I ever gave up on a project. Now, as for this project with Honor, I watched as Everett caused himself mental pain by dealing with Adrian. Adrian disrespected the living crap out of myself, out of Cody, out of every single person who was there as talent. Anyone who was in the NCW, he would disrespect. Anybody in any other company, he would disrespect. And it always goes back to this us or them mentality. And it was employed back in BTB. It was employed in ACW. It was employed every place he goes. That's how he works. And Honor closes its doors. I don't think they ever had a first episode. I'll check Tom's YouTube channel in a minute to see if they did. And after I say my piece, I'm gonna comment on a few things that Tom said at the end of this, and I'll do a Q&A about this. But fast forward to that. What? Oh. True. Okay. So, thank you for reminding me, Jay. So, after this Honor stint, there was the whole thing about the girl who catfished Tom. Shortly after, Brickzilla would ask for Gawkbox, here we go. I'm gonna stop reading here, but we would go into the Malcat. We would go into this whole thing. Tom got catfished, and afterward, what's it called? Adrian would keep on pushing his button about it. He would keep being like, okay, let's keep it up. Let's keep it up. Let's keep it up. Let's talk about the fact that you got catfished. Hey, you got catfished. You know you got catfished, right? Then, fast forward less than a month later, he asks a girl out, and he succeeds. I'll give him that. And then Adrian tells the girl he loves her in less than a week. And I remember this because I happen to be in the chat. And when I happened to be in this chat, I laughed my tail off because Adrian would not stop talking about the fact that Tom got catfished, and then he became the joke because he got dumped less than a week after he got in a relationship, after telling a girl that he loved her. And it was so bad. And you can call me a prick for it. I'm a prick and I know it. But after a week, yes. Jay, it took 1 week. And it was baffling to me. You guys did an episode 0? wait, I need to get back on track. Love you, Tom. We get into the. Oh, hey, Zodiac. We get into this whole conversation, and it gets questionable. Like, where, like, if he's ever gonna shut his mouth about Tom and his catfish, and it later it stopped, and I don't know what stopped him from doing it, but like usual, I became the butt of the joke for no apparent reason. And mind you, this entire time he would come in disrespecting me and like discrediting every single thing I do. And I'm now it's time for me to talk about locker room politics for a second here. If you guys want to know the reason why I'm 100% in every single company going for world titles in every title I can during NCW, I attribute this to a few people, but number one on the list of people who got me like put down the totem pole and never got me my world title and started like telling Cody that they should scrap everything involving me when it came down to that world title would have been Cyber. And that, like, locker room leadership is key everywhere you go. My stock was rising and they wanted to force me down lower, and that was like attributed to Vallac, aka Tom, or not Tom, god dang it, sorry Tom. I was reading the comment section there. Which is attributed to Vallac, aka James, aka Cyber, aka the Prickzilla, aka, well, I'm not even going to get into it. We're going to get into like a little bit further here. Honor ends, and then there's this other company, I can't remember the name of it. You guys will remind me in the comment section. And I'm never going to, like, yeah, politics. And I'm never going to, live it down. But we get in this conversation, and it's very, very questionable at, like, who was wrong in this and who was right, but hey, dude, I can't remember names. I'm bad at names. Call me out. We get in this conversation, and it's about, like, who's doing what. Vallac would not shut up about, well, I'm gonna be the number one wrestler in Honor Bound, that's what I know. Haha. Because companies enjoy, like, planning their stuff ahead. NCW, Honor, sim companies do it all the time. Plan ahead. Now, I don't know about you guys, but with me, the people who work alongside me in a lot of these companies, we all work toward a common goal. And that's to make the show better. He worked toward the common goal of being the company's owner. And I enjoyed watching him screw up every single turn I did. And then we got into the 2017 season of NCW. He would get into, he would get into Unite fully, and he would get, like, as far as to be, a Pledgehammer, and, like, I think he was a part of a lot of things. And he was slowly getting into Sim, and he was sucking people's dicks, which is the number one thing he does in every single place he goes. We would talk, and he would say the stupidest thing I have ever heard in my life. Money drives everything. That's why we charge people. I think that's the exact quote he told me when we were inside of NCW. Or not, yeah, when we were in NCW together. And it was just me and him in a party. That's the one thing I will always remember. And I can guarantee he doesn't remember that comment because he says a lot of shallow crap. But that's the one thing I'll always remember him saying is money drives everything. That's why we charge people. And I was slowly getting more and more angry about it, but I didn't say a word. Because I was scared I was going to get released. I was scared I was going to get fired and released because they were fear-mongering me, which is the number one thing that he loves to do. And we get into the 2018 season, and I'm at my boiling point where I'm about to quit. And I did. Tom tried his very best to convince me to stay, and I was like, I tried my very best to think about staying, and I was like, he tries to take over companies, he tried to get Jade fired. That's actually very true. Actually not true in every company, but like most companies. It's like every single time we were in any company where he knew I was going to be able to like get ahead of him in any respect, he would try to belittle me. He would try to belittle me and try his very, very, very best to get me released. If he couldn't get me released, he would get me forced down the card. If he couldn't get me forced down the card, he would like try his very best to like, shut me up. And it never worked. And people talk about like, well, he's such a good guy though. Tell me that when he's sucking your dick. And then when he turns his back on you. He turned his back on me since 2013. He told me he was my best friend. We sat on Skype together when we were 14 and talked about life when he was bald and stupid working as a librarian. I think that was 2014. We talked about life and I was always there for him. Somebody in, blah blah blah, snake bit. Yeah, he really is. He was a librarian, yes. He would say a lot of shallow crap, but then we get into the part where it's just like, really now? I get to the point where I'm frustrated and I leave NCW. Now, what was seen on the surface was Jade's gonna say all our storylines. We're gonna change them all. Jaden's like, no. All I said was, like, I mentioned the fact that titles were going, like, that we were having titles change from being competition to all this stuff. Oh, that was on my personal opinion there. I didn't want to be a part of Unite because okay. At first I wanted to be a part of Unite. And then I saw that you had to pay money for it. Then I saw it was a cash grab. And after that moment, Cody Hale doesn't like me because I think I called it a cash grab on, like, in a tweet. A lot of people don't like me because I said it. And, yeah. I leave NCW. Tom tries his very best to keep me in the company, offers me a lot of stuff. I say no. Number two, like, there are 3 reasons why I left, and one of them is Vallac, because I knew I was never going to break past that glass ceiling. 2 was my world title reign was not going to be long, period, even if I won it at, like, anywhere. And number 3, this one's probably the most, long and behold, Jaden dodged a bullet, staying at Unite. Yes, I dodged a bullet. And every single time I would think about it. The third one was I wanted to get into the companies that got me released and started talking about me as a bad person. And if you look at the comment section for Tom's video, and I quote, I still have him blocked. From James Kelly. Thank you, James. If you're watching this, love you too. Yes, I just threw a shot at James Kelly. Fight me. But we talk about all the stuff that Vallac has done, and it gets more evident toward when he went into the EFED side this time. So all that stuff before, when I was talking about it, was competitive. Yeah, you can chalk it up to us just talking crap, but it wasn't. Welcome to the club. We get into this company called All Star. He's like, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit. He starts talking, and it's always like, you've never beaten me. It's like promos. I get it. Cut promos all you want. But before then, I was blocked because I spoke my mind on something that people didn't want me to say. Now, and I don't know if I still have the screenshot, but there was a very controversial tweet I put up. One of my 400 controversial tweets, which is how most of you guys know me. Because I made one about the very, very controversial suicide comment. I'm not getting into that conversation ever again. I made one about the ultra controversial, the blacklist is like being convicted as a felon. But there was another one. This one slipped under a lot of people's radars. Just drop the extra S off, Jay. Very controversial tweet that got swept under the rug because Unite people didn't want to hear it. I got blocked by Vallac for this. And I think Black Huron blocked me too. Or Black... I don't know what his name is. Black whatever. Black Mamba. I'm going to start calling him Black Mamba. I got blocked by Black Brick. That sounded racist. I'm going to ignore you. I sent the tweet because Ryan was getting harassed by Unite for stuff about... I don't know what he did, but Vallac started harassing him and saying, I know your mom, don't make me text your mom, don't make me do this, don't make me do that. Good job, Deshaun. Give me money, Jay. But yeah, we get into that situation, and he just instantly blocks me. He doesn't try to make his name look any better. No, we all know what he did, and he admitted in that tweet that this was basically for money. He said you used your mom's credit card and it got denied. You have to pay up or something like that. Which just further proves that he was only in it for money. And then we get into this part where it's always for money and clout. Money, clout. Money, clout. Money, clout. Money, opportunity. That's what it's always been. Money, opportunity. Money, opportunity. Money, opportunity. He gets any sort of opportunity to speak his mind, he'll do it. And he'll say absolutely nothing. And when it's somebody saying something against him, he'll close his ears, tuck his tail, and run away. Then he'll play the victim, cry off to a female who's going to give him a little bit of respect. Then he's going to tell that female he loves her within a week and get blocked. I'm kidding. That one was just a douchebag moment. But he'll go to any female that messages him. If there's any guy that messages him, I think the rule is with him is I have to have known him for a long time, I have to have been in the company with them, or they have to be bigger than me before I associate myself with them. If that's right. And if you guys want, I'll open the party up to people if you guys want to talk and tell your stories, because I'm on PlayStation right now. But yes, it's real. It's really, really sad and disrespectful, the stuff he does. He'll disrespect every single person that he can, and will run away when you disrespect him. And I kept my mouth shut for 3 years. Got disrespected on a personal level. Got disrespected. I'll pass. Well. Actually, I'm proud, Jay. Thankful you got a new home. Remind me, guys, I need one more thing that I have to talk about is inside the DMs with Tom. This is a hidden thing I was holding back from talking about until about the end of the stream. But there's a lot of things that he's done shady to everybody. Everybody. I've watched him disrespect some of the top guys, some of the low guys, in any way he can get any sort of upper hand on you, he will. The man's a librarian, for God's sakes. You guys can say a lot about me. You can say I'm a bad guy, you can say I'm this, say I'm that, but I'll give you the shirt off of my back and tell you that it's going to be fine at the end of the day. I want you guys all to come away from this with a new understanding, a new lease on, how some of us have seen Vallac. You got me there, I'm not a librarian. You guys can talk about a lot of the things I've said and done, but you can't say I'm not honest. I'm so dead. It'd be like that. I'm gonna open up the floor to questions about stuff that he's done. Tom, if you want to ask anything, or if you want to remind me of anything, yeah. As Sean says it, I'm dying over here. Yeah, Valac's a librarian, and he's on AEW. You know what he does? He does librarian things. Shh. Now ask questions. No questions. On that note, I'm gonna check the Twitter machine and see what else I said. Alright, so come on, load. Okay. 2 nights ago, me and Jesus Christ, you guys went ham on the likes. He really does have. Okay, he has a huge history of harassing women and a long history of politicking hard. This librarian from AEW. Yo. I feel bad for Tazzy. She's one of the greater people in this community, and she just disappeared. Wonder where she went. But yeah, Tom has a lot of stuff in his video, and I don't think Virgil's bad. Virgil's always there. Virgil's there for everybody. Virgil happened... Actually, that's a person who needs to talk about Vallac. Virgil Snow actually has a lot of stuff that's happened to him from Vallac, from what I remember hearing. Because in Unite, he was considered like a lot of things, but from being in a party with him, he's not a bad guy. Not a bad guy at all. If anybody's bad, Vallac is. And I don't like calling people bad people, but have you guys been in my shoes yet? I sat here for years knowing Vallac and knowing all the stuff that he's done and said, and like, there's a lot of bad stuff he's done. I'm not the only person who's seen it. I sat here watching when he disrespected, like, everybody. Anybody who's, like, who he deems, like, good looking, he'll message and he'll start trying to talk to and he'll start trying to harass. Like, I help a lot of people. Okay. Thank you, Tom, for putting that in the comments. I'm going to stand up for this so I can read this. Alright. Vallac / James says, alright, very true. Every single day, he's like bullied another person. I've heard a lot of people say, like, excuse me, I've heard a lot of people say that, you know, they've been bullied by Vallac. I sat there for years and just took it. When I stood up, I left. Because I couldn't take it anymore. And when people asked me why I sat there and took it, I told them I didn't want to get released from the first company that actually took a chance on me. He harassed women, and that's very true. I watched him do it in chats. I watched this prick do it in chats. He would legit start talking to the only woman in the chat just because he wants his dick licked. Oh, abusing. I'm not going to get into that. Actually, I am. If you guys remember the BTB side of the story, I told you guys that Nadalin wanted him out. There was another thing that he was doing. And he was kicking out any single member who would be like, who would question his, like, methods. If they said that he wanted Nadalin on a personal level, boom, kicked out. If they said that he was starting to be a dick, boom, kicked out. Like, he really is two-faced. 1 minute he's best friends with me, the next he hates me, the next he loves me, the next he hates me. And it really is all about clout for him. It's all about money and clout. Let's scroll down here. Sometimes is... Yep. Look at my Twitter. No, I'm kidding. I think... I'm not too sure about that, Jay. Let's scroll down here. It's all about... We're not talking about David Otunga here. And WA13 hurt my ears. I will never hear that song again. When you said next to... no. He wanted chicks. Yes, he really did. And there are a few real girls in this community. They just don't like being seen, but they really are here. Anything else to add? Like, anybody else got anything else to add? Or is this like one of those things where I'm gonna start asking people in like to join the party who I know have had associations with him. Okay, on that note, I'm gonna add people in the party. Party, create. Bear with me, you guys won't see any NBA action. LOL, there's no NBA coming on the screen. Who else here has felt the wrath of him? Do 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 boom boom. Do I really not know anybody who's online that knows him? That answers my question. Nobody. So, with that being said, Everett, I haven't heard your voice now. Oh yeah, Everett, when you get home, add me on PlayStation and we can do a part 2 to this. Because I need somebody to, like, help me keep on track in the next one. Because I know I didn't say everything in here. Because I usually have to have somebody that can, like, help keep me on track. But, all in all, I'm going to give a list of things that Vallac is. To end this off with. 1. Vallac is a pathological liar. 2. Vallac's a liar. Harasses women. And I'm surprised that he's not kicked out of the community yet for all the stuff he's done. Harasses women. Politics like a piece of crap. He's two-faced, abuses his power, and he's in it for the clout. As for the love of the game, we're going to be taking him out. You know good and goddamn well that they were never going to, that they were never ever going to make figures. I don't suck at NBA, I'm just moderately decent. Anyway, I'll catch you guys later. Peace. See you guys in the next stream. Where I'll probably suck at NBA. Ooh-ah.